Hey, and welcome. Today we're going to go over how do we help people prevent disease? How do we get people off of drugs? How do we help people with high blood pressure, cholesterol, irritable bowel, constipation, diarrhea? Sitting here listening to me, you may be asking yourself a couple of questions. How does the chiropractor do that? Primarily through a fundamental lack of understanding or education in our community. Most people have that question because they just don't know. Which is why we do our Dinner with the Doctor talk to educate you, your family, your friends, our community, what you are missing, which is the most amazing gift that every person on earth has, and how chiropractic can help every person. But most people have not been exposed or have heard this story, so I'm about to tell it to you. See, the chiropractor looks at the most fundamental, basic concept of life. And what that is your central nervous system. And for you that are sitting out there wanting to know what that happens to be, it is your brain and your spinal cord. You see, your brain has an extension down through the skull. And that's a hole called the foramen magnum. And so that hole creates an opening where the brain stem turns into the spinal cord that runs all the way down to your tailbone. And between each vertebrae, there are 24 movable vertebrae in your body, exits a nerve root, one right and one left. And so they go out to your whole body. And that is the electrical communication pathway from brain down through the spinal cord and then out these nerves to every cell and every tissue and every organ of your body. Now, there's not one function of your body that is not under the control of your central nervous system. Your heart beats, you breathe. You will digest food today and turn that into energy and to create new cells for your body as old cells will die. And that's all under the most amazing, powerful control of your brain and central nervous system. You see, the best doctor lies inside of you. It is, and it does know everything that you need right now. So what happens is we get an interference to that nervous system. The chiropractor calls that a subluxation. And what a subluxation is, it's a tiny misalignment of a bone. And that bone will compress, reduce, and interfere with the electrical impulses coming from your brain down that spinal cord and then out those nerves to every cell and tissue and organ. So if you have a nerve, and let's just say that nerve was to your heart and it was reduced, would your heart work normal or abnormal? Well, of course, the answer is abnormal. And so when that is abnormally giving it impulses to tell it how to function, what you don't know or are aware is that those cells over time will change. See, your body and your organism is constantly having cells that are dying. If I scratch my skin, I will slough off hundreds of thousands of dead skin cells. My heart cells will last about 90 days. My blood cells about 120 days. But guess what? Don't worry, folks, because new ones are growing and new ones will replace the old ones. And how does that happen? Let's go back to the central nervous system once again. So now you have an aberrated, a compressed nerve root telling your cells how to grow. Will they grow normally? No, they won't. They grow damaged, they grow diseased. And so over time, when you get more and more diseased and more damaged cells, this eventually, by the time you've lost about 40% function, is the interface at which you start to develop a symptom, a pain, you hurt. Whether that is a pain from a headache or a neck pain or a migraine, or whether that is a rash on your arm called psoriasis, or whether that is irritation and inflammation internally in your intestines called irritable bowel syndrome, or whether it is a manifestation of what they term high blood pressure. Regardless of whatever it is called, it is simply a disease process. And unfortunately, we do this to ourselves 95% of the time by not knowing that we have a subluxation, not knowing that the spine is interfering and crushing the electrical flows to the cell, interfering with cellular reorganization and cellular growth. We don't pay attention to the fact that we're feeding ourselves terrible foods that will clog our arteries, that will cause us toxic insult, that will irritate our bowels or will create cancer cells in our body to manifest. As disease continually manifests, now we'll get back to you, the average person. So the average person goes through their whole life being taught that when you look good and you feel good, you're healthy. So when you don't know what a subluxation is and the crippling effects that can have on your spine, your nervous system, and your health, over time, causing cell and tissue and organ damage and destruction. Eventually, when you get to that 40% cell, tissue, and organ disease or loss of function, again, that interface where you start to hurt, the average person is taught to do what? What do we hear from our parents, or what do we hear from our friends? I have a headache. Oh, do you want some what? Advil? Or on television, it's a war between pharmaceutical companies of Aleve or Advil or Tylenol or ibuprofen. And so you are indoctrinated. You are advertised to and marketed to hundreds of times every day. Challenge yourself today. Look at the print media, radio, television, billboards about the drugs that you'll see, telling you to take this to alleviate, suppress the symptoms. And so when you just take a pill to suppress the symptoms, is the problem still there, or did it go away? Of course, it's still there. So are you going to get sicker, or are you going to get healthier over time? Of course, the answer is simple. You will get sicker over time, but you, the average person, doesn't realize this. And so you take that Advil for the headache or the indigestion or the back pain or that high blood pressure medication to lower that blood pressure, to mask heart disease. Then over the course of time, our bodies continually get more damaged. We continually have worse and worse neurological flow for cell, tissue, and organ health. We continually poison our bodies with poor foods, and we have toxins such as drugs or chemicals in the food that we eat. And over time, our bodies get more and more insulted. And so what starts to happen is people get worse and they get worse and they get worse. And, sometimes they have a terrible quality of life, or they do die prematurely from heart disease or some other forms of disease. So you see, the pathway that most people take on what they believe health to be is completely wrong. It's completely based upon a fraudulent concept that drugs are healthy, and that is just not true. So in our world, what we need to do and have to educate you is, how do you take care of your body? Well, first and foremost, it starts with a 5-process, 5-step plan of action that will not only allow you to be the healthiest that you've been in decades or years, but your children to have certainty, your family to have a certainty of living 80 or 90 years and preventing the top 3 killers and leading a quality of life that you were created to lead. And it starts with one simple premise. You have to understand what a subluxation is and how, if the body gets a subluxation where the body gets misaligned, pinching these vital nerves that go to the organs, where you've lost these beautiful curves in the neck, pinching those nerves, that you don't feel that. And how do you get these subluxations? Well, you were all born, weren't you? Of course, you might say. And of course, a large number of children get subluxations in the atlas, right here at the base of the skull, surrounding the brainstem, the most important part and the most prolific communication area from brain to body. All messages of life, health, and healing come through that area. So there's no wonder a lot of children have colic or issues with their stomach or reflux or constipation or screaming after they eat. And so we've seen all these cases in our practice where we look at the upper neck for a subluxation, shutting down the nerve flow, affecting the way the child's body functions. Well, the next part is you all learned to walk, didn't you? And so you fell over literally hundreds of times a day, falling on your pelvis, crushing that pelvis. And so that trauma created a subluxation, affecting the lower part of the back that goes out to the bowels. So you might have no pain here. You might not have sciatica, low back pain, but you could have issues with constipation or diarrhea, irritable bowel. You could have issues with bladder frequency and urgency. You can also have issue with the reproductive organs. In females, that might be period pain or inability to fall pregnant, and men could be erectile dysfunction. And you had no idea that was coming from the nervous system because no one has taken the time to sit you down and educate you about the power of how your body truly works. Instead, you are educated to take a pill, a potion, or a lotion to address those symptoms. And so let's make this fundamentally clear. I couldn't care less that you have a symptom. Well, I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, wow, that is not compassionate or caring. You see, that statement is to invoke in you that response, because I want you to understand once and for all that the symptom is the effect. So do we want to chase the effect around, or would you like to look at what's causing that? You see, if I could reach through the camera, take your arm and pinch it firmly and hardly, and you would feel pain, would you want me to give you an Advil or inject it with Novocaine or cut it out? Clearly the answer's obvious. Just stop pinching my arm, you might tell me. Well, you see, that's what I'm telling you. I don't want to chase your symptoms around. We don't believe in medication of symptoms because we're not suppressing it. We want to address the cause. And so when we find the cause and we remove that and you allow your nerves to start to flow better to your cells, you're going to get better function of the organs. The cellular tissue is going to metabolize, excrete, and reproduce the way it was created and designed to do. When you start to exercise, you start to feed it good food, and you start to stretch, your nervous system is going to take that information, and over the course of the 14 months it takes for all vital organs to regrow, you will now start to lay down healthier cells in place of the old disease cells that are dying and sloughing off. So your body has that amazing ability to heal, and no one's telling you this. So if you would like to find out about how you can take control of your life, regain health and remove disease, you've just, for the first time, finally heard what health really is. and how you can take responsibility and change your life. We will help you do it. We will lead you down that path. I'll ask you to come to our dinner talk, the Dinner with the Doctor. We provide an amazing meal at the Chart House, and we'll teach you these strategies. We'll teach you these principles. We'll lead you down the path. What is it worth to know with certainty that every human being has the potential inside them to be healthy? Unfortunately, too many of you aren't living up to your potential. You have subluxations that are compressing your expression of life. You are feeding yourself pathetic food that's clogging your arteries, that is creating lack of energy and is not allowing cellular growth to work. You're poisoning yourself with preservatives, sugar, and salts that not only cause acidic environment, which you'll need to learn creates cancer, but it's causing type 2 diabetes. You are not taking time to take care of your mental health, so stress in your life. You're reacting to everything. You're uptight. You're always irritable. And so your internal environment is suffering. You need to ask yourself one question. How do you want to age? And what is your health worth? You see, health is your most important asset. And you have that. You are charged with the responsibility of your life, your family's life, to lead and teach them how to be healthy. As am I. I'm here because some man, Dr. Scott, took the time to share this principle with me, the one that I'm sharing with you. Because he shared that with me, and because my mother's love of taking me to her doctor when I had severe injuries from playing football in Australia, and that man teaching me this, I stand here before you teaching you this. So you see, I've changed thousands of lives, and I've helped add millions of quality of years to those lives. And we see thousands of patients in my practice, and we get these amazing results, not because of me and being amazing, but because of the principles that we believe in. The same fundamentally simple principles that you too can take charge and regain your health. I look forward for you responding and coming to our dinner talk at the Chart House. You can click on the emails and register. You can call my office. You can literally come many different ways. But we want to see you there.